Hello again, everybody! So today we're back with day 4 of my 7-day streak. I'm losing count, it's really getting difficult. And today, a little bit belatedly, we're going to do my February wrap-up and my March to be read. In February, I actually ended up reading a lot more books than expected. I ended up reading 9 books. And that's largely because I had a longer commute on my work experience in London, and just because I got really into some of the books I was reading and blitzed through them quicker than I normally would. So I'll show you the books that I read in February. So here are the 9 books that I read in February. It's quite a varied bunch, as you'll see, but we'll go through now and I'll talk about what I liked about them, what scores I'd give them out of 10. So the first thing I actually read in February was a manga. It was Bleach. Now this is something I've been really excited about trying for a while, because I've never read manga, but this was very much like video game in book form. So there were lots of big swords, lots of demons, lots of fights, and it was just really, really enjoyable. I found some of the characters a little bit muddled, but all in all, I really liked the concept, I really liked the style of manga, and overall, really enjoyed reading it. I'm looking forward to reading some more of these. I've had a few people say to me that they've got bored by a few volumes in, but I'm still enjoying it, and I'm hoping that I can carry on reading a few more and still feel the same. I'm giving this an 8 out of 10. The next thing I read in February was The Fire Sermon by Francesca Haig. So you are probably all a little bit sick of me talking about this book by now, because I've mentioned it a lot of times in the past couple of months. But I really, really enjoyed this. It's one of the first dystopias I've read and really enjoyed in quite a while. If you like Divergent, The Hunger Games, etc., I think this is a better example of that. Some of the characters are a little bit forgettable even, very different. Some of the characters are a little bit forgetful. Some of the characters are forgettable. There we go, got it. But all in all, really enjoyed it. I've done a full review video of this actually, which I'll pop in the description down below. But I gave it an 8.5 out of 10, and I think if you like teen young adult dystopia, give this one a go. The next book I read was Golden Sun by Pierce Brown. So it's the follow-up to his successful Red Rising, which I absolutely loved when I read it. And I'm going to do a full review of this. That'll be my video for tomorrow, in fact. But suffice to say, this is a really, really, really good book. It builds on everything that Pierce Brown does in the first one, and really, really takes it a mile further, makes the scale loads bigger, and it works for it to, like, unbelievably well. It's very much like Game of Thrones in space, very political, lots of backstabbing and murder and death, and it's brilliant. I think if you've not read this series, you need to pick it up and do it. I just can't believe I've got to wait until next year for the 3rd book. But I will cope. I will cope somehow. It gets a 9 out of 10 from me, but check back my full review tomorrow to hear a little bit more about it. Another book I read this month was Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. So this is one that's UK bestseller, US bestseller, kind of heralded as a bit of a British Gone Girl, and it's had loads of hype recently, so I thought I'd read it, see what it was like. I do quite enjoy psychological thrillers, so I thought let's give it a go. I was really disappointed with this. I found that the main characters, I didn't like any of the characters in the book, and that's intentional. Completely understand that's intentional. But it really jarred for me and made it really unenjoyable. I didn't root for any of them, I didn't care what had happened to any of them. I almost wish they'd all been killed in this murder. And really disappointed to have that stronger negative reaction to all the characters. The twist was really obvious as well. I don't think it was particularly well hidden. I think it was a little bit obvious from about halfway through who it was going to be. And it did wrap up cleverly with all of the story. It did all come together very nice and neatly. But overall, after all the hype I'd heard, it didn't live up to it. I do think I'm not the target market for this book. I think, without sounding sexist, this isn't my personal view, but I think it's possibly a book that's much more suited for women readers than men readers, and I think the way the characters are constructed, it has that in mind, and it just didn't do it for me. I'm going to have to give this a 5 out of 10. I also read Beginning Bookselling by Irene Babbage. This is a very different kind of book. I'm not going to talk about this and review it in the same way because it's more difficult to do. I have done a bit of a feature video on this, talking about what I found interesting and the parallels with current day bookselling, which I'll link down below again, but I'm not going to talk about this in the same way here. I just thought I've read this month, I'll show you what I read, and it's quite interesting if you are a bookseller, definitely, so give it a pick up in that case. I also read Endgame by James Frey. So this is a book I've had for a while and never got round to. 2 things really interest me about this. One is the concept. It is basically an apocalyptic situation. 12 teenagers have to fight it out. Whoever's the winner lets all of their kind of race survive and all the others will die in this cataclysm. Quite an interesting concept. I quite like apocalyptic stuff. It sounded a bit kind of Anthony Horowitz-y, so the concept intrigued me. And the other half is that it's actually part of kind of a meta competition. So there's loads of clues hidden in here which lead to a real life solution. And it's money, I think, that you win if you manage to solve the clues. So I got really excited about that too. The book delivers on the concept, even though I didn't really find it very gripping. I read it, I enjoyed reading it, didn't care about the characters, I didn't really care about what happened. It was kind of a little bit like a chick flick, or one of those films you'd have on in the background just to pass your time, but not something you necessarily think, oh yes, I want to watch that, I want to read that, pick that up again. That's what this book was like. Even more frustrating is because this is a proof copy that was released before the book, the clues aren't actually in here to solve the puzzle. So that was one of the things I was looking forward to most, and one of the things I didn't manage to get to do. So that put a down on it for me too. I've given this a 6.5 out of 10. The next book I read is another one that I think a lot of you guys will end up reading and enjoying. It's Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. So this has got quite a lot of press and things online, and a lot of hype around its release. It's a dystopian novel. It's very similar to Red Rising and Divergent, those types of things. Basically, there's a silver group who are superhumans, got magical powers, rule the land, and then Reds, who are kind of inferior, slaves, etc. Thought the concept sounded a little bit been there, done that, but actually it's done in a really clever way. I really like the characters, there's some really good twists in there, and one thing this does really well is the dystopia isn't kind of a closed-off society. So it's based in the Kingdom of Norta, but the Kingdom of Norta is at war with another kingdom, and it's how all that plays into the dystopian society too. It's not just about this internal struggle against a big ruling government. It's got much wider implications and wider considerations, and that's one of the things that I think this does really well, is it broadens the scale than most dystopians. And I really enjoyed this. I wasn't sure I would, and I really, really did. So I recommend picking this one up. I gave this an 8.5 out of 10. And then lastly, I read 2 of the Little Black Classics. So I'm not going to talk about these and review them in the same way again, because I don't think they're the kind of books that you can review. But I read Sophocles, Antigone, and Aesop's A Collection of His Fables, and I have to say I really enjoyed both of them. I thought they were really good snippet reads, and I don't think you can go wrong with any of the Little Black Classics, but if you're after things that I particularly enjoyed, Aesop and Sophocles are really good to go with, and I know I'm going to read loads more in the future too. So that's my wrap-up for February done. I had a really good reading month, really read quite a lot of different stuff I wouldn't normally read, and I enjoyed it a lot. So we'll go straight on to what I'm reading for March. Now this is another mixed bag, and we're going to start off with another Little Black Classic, because I'm just a little bit obsessed with these at the minute. So I'm going to definitely read the Communist Manifesto. I'm probably going to try and read 7 or 8 others of these over the next couple of months too, but I know for sure I want to read this one, because it's something I've studied a history degree, and it's something that I've always wanted to pick up and read, the Communist Manifesto, and I thought in this format, like this, is the perfect way of doing it. Second thing I'm going to read is a book I've talked about a little bit recently, and it's one that I think looks incredible just from the cover. How amazing is that? It's called Fancy Necromancy, and I'm actually partway through this already, about 50 pages in, and I'm really, really enjoying it. It's properly geeky. It's like a fantasy book that's set in the real world with kind of fantasy elements added in. It's how the societies mingle, and I love those kind of things, as I mentioned before on the channel. It's one of the books that's going to make me really laugh out loud as well, and I think all in all this is kind of the perfect book for me to read, because I've read quite a lot of serious stuff recently, and I'm loving this already, and I'm really excited to finish it off. Following on with the theme of beautiful covers, I'm also going to read Strings of Murder by Oscar de Muriel. So look at that cover again, isn't it beautiful? This is another proof I got through, and it's one that a lot of my colleagues have raved about. Another thing I'm going to read, again, from my recent book haul, is the John Ronson Psychopath Test. So, the author's coming to visit the shop I work at next Thursday, so I'm really looking forward to giving this a read. I know I'm going to enjoy it. It's kind of smart thinking-y, very clever, social commentary style stuff, and I'm looking forward to giving that a read before I meet the guy next week. Carrying on with the non-fiction, I'm also going to read Secrets of the Knights Templar. So this is one I've mentioned on my second-hand book haul. Kind of always had a bit of a fascination in conspiracy theories and those kinds of things, not necessarily because I believe them, but because I just think they're really fascinating to hear about and hear what kind of things people construct to make sense of things that aren't very logical normally. So, really look forward to giving that a read. I've not read any proper long-form non-fiction for a while now, and I'm looking forward to giving that a go. I think I'm going to really enjoy it, and it's going to break up everything else I'm reading this month really nicely. One of the final things I'm going to read for March is something you eagle-eyed viewers might have noticed I didn't manage to read in February. So it's Lyra by Garth Nix. I pulled this out of my TBR jar and just never got round to reading it. I found so many new things to pick up that this kind of fell by the wayside. but I am going to read it this month because I know I want to try and finish the whole series throughout the year, so if I can get a good head start on it now, that'd be great. So I'm going to give that a read, and I am actually going to do it this month, I promise. So obviously that is 6 books, but one of them is only like a 50-page thing, and I've already started the other one, so I reckon I could probably do another one for my TBR jar this month. So I've actually added a few new things in from my last couple of book hauls that I know I might not get around to reading normally, but that I do want to read. So they're in here because that'll kind of force me to do it. So I'm just going to pick probably one out this month, but let's see what I get. Okay, so I've picked out The Secret Agent by Joseph Conrad. Right, so it's just behind me, I'll just grab it for you now. So this is The Secret Agent. It's one of the Penguin English Library classics, and I think these are the most beautiful series of classics I've ever seen. Penguin are doing a good job with their books at the minute. It's one I've actually started in the past and then ended up putting down, but I want to read more classics. I've not read any for quite a long time, and I think this is as good a place as any to start. It is about a secret agent, so that's going to be a classic that gets me a bit more interested than a lot of the Jane Austen style, character-driven classics. So look forward to giving that a read. Again, it's only a short one, so that's probably a good one to have pulled out for this month. So I'm looking forward to giving that one a read too. So there we have it, my TBR for March. It's quite a good group of books here. I'm quite excited to get started. And as always, I'll be back the end of the month with a wrap-up of these to tell you what I thought about them. Otherwise, if you want to click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, that'd be great. And comment down below if you've read any of the books I've talked about in this video at all. I've talked about a lot, so there's a good chance you have. Otherwise, you've got a couple of days left for my 100 subscriber giveaway, so I'll link that down below as well. There are a lot of videos down there right now, but, you know, have a flick through them if you've not seen them already. You will enjoy them, I promise. Otherwise, I'll be back tomorrow with my review of Golden Sun, and I will see you then.